In a normal July, home sales here in Indianapolis Metro go up about 4% from June. This July, they went down 10%. Yes, that's right. That's a 14-point swing away from normal. And almost nobody is talking about it because the headline number, the one you'll see on the news, says Indiana home sales are up 5%. Both of those things are true at the same time. And if you only hear one of them, you're going to make a bad decision. So today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to walk you through July twice. First, the Indianapolis Metro, all 11 counties are local numbers. Then Indiana as a whole, so you can see where we line up with the state and where we're clearly split from it. And at the end, I'll show you a piece of research about who is actually buying homes in Indiana right now that I think is going to change how a lot of people think about their next house. Everything in this video comes from Indiana Association of Realtors, MLS Data Warehouse, and Housing Hub. Real closing data, not estimates, not Zestimates, definitely not Zillow. Let's start local. As you may be aware, the Indianapolis Metro is made up of 11 counties. Marion, Hamilton, Hendricks, Johnson, Boone, Madison, Hancock, Morgan, Brown, Putnam, and Shelby. That's Indianapolis, that's Carmel, Fishers, Noblesville, Greenwood, Westfield, Avon, Plainfield, Brownsburg, Zionsville, Franklin, Anderson, Greenfield, Mooresville, and everything in between. Here's what happened in July. We closed 3,040 homes across the metro. Compared to last July, that's up 5%. That sounds great, and honestly, it is fine. But compared to June, we dropped 10%. Typically, there's an uptick from June to July. And here's why that matters. July is normally an up month. Historically, this market gains about 4% going from June into July. So we didn't just have a slow month. We moved 14 points in the wrong direction from what the market normally does this time of year. Now, before anyone panics, closed sales are a rearview mirror. A home that closed in July went under contract back in May or early June. Those buyers made their decision about 2 months ago. So closed sales tells you what the market was doing. And if you want to know what it's doing right now, you'll look at pending contracts. Pending contracts, 2,887 of them were written in July. Down 10% from June, down 5% from last July. That's the number I'd circle. Pending contracts are the single best predictor of what closings looks like about 4 or 5 weeks out. So this is telling us when we get to August and September, they're likely going to be softer. So what changed? Rates. Mortgage rates averaged 6.5% in July, and in the first week of August, they caught all the way up to where they were a year ago at nearly 7%. For most of this spring, buyers here had a small rate advantage over 2025. That advantage is now gone. When it disappeared, the buyers who were on the fence stepped back off the field, and you can see it in the pending numbers. Meanwhile, supply went the other direction. The Metro averaged 6,816 homes actively available per day in July. That's up 16% from last year. That's a big number, guys. If you're a buyer on the fence right now, get off of it. Now is the time more than ever to get off of the fence. And I want to be specific in how unusual that is. The Hub model is an expected range for what inventory should look like in a July around here. That range topped out at about 6,500. We came in above it by over 300 homes. Months of supply is now at 2.6, up 13% year over year, and also above the expected range. 2.6 months of supply is still technically a seller's market. Balance is considered 4 to 6 months, but we are definitely getting close to that. But this is a softer seller's market. The Indy Metro has seen in years, and the direction of travel is clearly toward buyers. Homes are also taking longer to sell. The median home in the Metro took 22 days to go pending in July. That's up 10% from last July and 22% from June. And now the number everyone actually asks me about. The median sales price in Indianapolis Metro was $330,000 in July, up 2% from last year, flat from June. And here's the part I want to make sure lands. That price came in above what models projected for this July. Sellers in the Metro averaged 96.6% of their current asking price. Keyword current. So the local picture in one sentence, volume is cooling faster than normal, supply is building faster than normal, and prices are holding up better than expected. That is nowhere near a crash. Let me be clear. That is the market handing leverage back to buyers without taking equity away from sellers. We're simply getting closer to a balanced market. Okay, that's our backyard. Now let's zoom out. Because the state of Indiana had a noticeably different picture in July than we did here locally, and the difference is the most useful thing in this entire video. Statewide, the state of Indiana closed 8,112 homes in July, up 5% from last year. That's the third straight month over 8,000 closings, and the state is now running 3% ahead of last year's pace for the full year to date. New listings statewide came in at 10,604, also up 5%. Sellers across Indiana kept at a brisk pace. The statewide median sales price of $285,000, which is up 4% year over year, and the statewide sellers received 96.4% of their original list price. Keyword original. I want to take a second to make a quick note, and this is me being careful with our data. The statewide figure is measured against the original asking price, and the metro figure I gave you earlier is measured against the current asking price. Different measurements, don't compare them directly. Now, statewide pending sales, 7,683 new pending contracts across the state of Indiana, down 2% from last year. So the state felt the same rate of pressure that we did here locally, just not as hard. Statewide, there were 18,333 homes available on any given day in the month of July, 11% more than last year. I cannot stress it enough. If you are a buyer in this market, it is imperative that you get off the fence, talk with a loan professional, and then figure out what you can afford financially and comfortably. Because what it's going to do for you as a buyer in this market is ultimately position you to get in a home where you're not competing amongst several other potential buyers, in addition to the fact that majority of people right now are taking a step back due to rate sensitivity. If you can financially afford to get in a home, you are going to be far better 5 years from now to upgrade to the home of your dreams, utilizing the equity from the home that you buy today. So do not allow rates to ultimately be the determining factor that's preventing you from getting off the fence. So being up more than 11% than last year is a stat that I'd like to take into negotiation on your behalf. More than 47% of everything on the market across the state of Indiana has already taken at least one price cut. Nearly half of the state's inventory has already blinked on price. Pricing your home right now is the most important thing that sellers can do. And two more statewide numbers worth your time I want to go over. First, the median mortgage payment for the recent Indiana home purchase is only up 2% versus last year, even though the median price is up 4% because of rates. Rates were slightly lower for most of the year, and that softened the blow. The gap is closing right now. And second, the higher end of the market did hold up. Statewide pending sales above 250,000 actually are up 3% year over year. The pullback wasn't uniform. It hit the hardest at entry level, where buyers are the most rate sensitive. All right, let's put them next to each other. This is the part that matters. Pending sales, Indy Metro down 5%, Indiana down 2%. We're pulling back more than twice as fast as the entire state. Inventory, Indy Metro up 16%, Indiana up 11%. We're building supply faster than the rest of the state as well. Price growth, Indy Metro up 2%, state of Indiana up 4%. We're appreciating at half the state's rate. Median price, Indy Metro 330,000, state of Indiana 285,000. So let's read that back. Here in the metro, you are paying more for your home. It is appreciating slower. Demand is falling faster, and supply is growing faster than the state of Indiana average. That is not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just simply true. It means that every statewide headline that you read this month is describing a market that is not one you're standing in. If you're a buyer in Hamilton County and you read Indiana prices up 4% and assume that you've got to move fast before you get priced out, that's the wrong conclusion for this market, because the local market is completely different than the statewide picture. Last thing, and this is the one that is forward-looking that I want to hone in on. The Indiana Association of Realtors previewed some research on household size, and I think that this is going to matter for anyone buying or selling in the next few years as a buyer. And I make this point because I want you guys to understand what it looks like for you. Household stats between 2019 and 2024, Indiana added over 140,000 new households. Yes, we grew substantially. 76% of those are one or two person households, meaning young professionals moving to the state of Indiana. And 70% of those smaller households are homeowners, not renters. Yes, you heard that right. Small households are now growing faster than large ones in 3 out of every 4 Indiana counties. Here's what that did to pricing. So back in 2019, homes with 4 or more bedrooms sold for more price per square foot than smaller ones did. The big house actually carried a premium. By 2024, that had flipped. So we're in a position right now where 4 plus bedroom listings are now selling for less per square foot than 3 bedroom homes, and the 2 bedroom homes are even beginning to close the gap. The premium moved. So if you own a large home and you're planning to sell it in the next few years, that extra bedroom is not an automatic value add that you think it is or what it was just 5 years ago. And if you're buying a smaller home and worrying about it holding value, the data is moving in your favor. Smaller homes, specifically the 2-bedroom, 1-bath bungalows, 800 square feet starter homes within the city of Indianapolis, are imperative to snatch up right now because that is important. Buyers, I want to talk to you because right now you have real leverage for the first time in years. 16% more inventory here in the metro. Nearly half the state's listings have already cut their price at least once. Homes are sitting 22 days instead of 20. That means you can ask for certain things again. That's inspection, that's repairs, closing cost help, a rate buy down. Those conversations are alive and well again. What you don't have is rate tailwind. That's gone. So negotiation on price and terms, not hoping the rate will rescue you later, is imperative for making sure your affordability is in a good situation. All right, now let me talk to my sellers. As you guys know, we do list homes for 1.5%, but I want to talk to you guys specifically about the market and what it means to be a seller. We are in a cooling market, but that does not mean sheer panic, nor does it mean crash. Your equity is intact. The metro median is 330,000. It's holding above projection, and statewide appreciation is running around 4%. That's great news. What's changed is the market will no longer rescue you in the event that you overprice your home as if it's 2021 and pray that the right buyer is just going to come along and offer you less. That's not happening. Pricing it right from day one is imperative. In this market, it is not the only strategy, but it is the whole game. And that's my 2 cents for my sellers. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the July market update. The market is cooled faster than the state. Prices have held in both. And the buyers that were waiting for leverage just got some. If you're thinking about buying or selling in the next 6 to 12 months, here's what I'd like you to do. Drop your zip code down in the comments. I would love to speak with you regarding our 1.5% listing structure and what that can do for you as a home seller. And if you're a buyer sitting on the fence, let's get you in touch with a mortgage loan professional, because right now more than ever, we have nearly 35 programs just in the state of Indiana, specifically toward the Marion County and surrounding suburban counties that are available to you as a home buyer. It is imperative that you guys take advantage of what is in front of you. And what I mean by that is better time than ever to take advantage of the sellers that are on the market. If they're on the market, they want to sell. Take advantage of those price cuts. Take advantage of them inappropriately overpricing the property. Take advantage of the ability to get that closing cost paid for. All of those inspection fixes completed. Making sure that maybe, just maybe, if the home it has high enough value, you can get, that extra $5,000, $7,000, $12,000 to buy down your rate from 6.5% to maybe 6 or 5.5 or 5 3/4. Ultimately, substantially making a difference in your payment from day one. Get a hold of me. My name is Phil Tinsley. This is your market July of 2026 update, both Indiana itself as well as the Indy Metro. I would love to help you and your family make the move to Indiana and or help you buy or sell locally. We'll see you in the next video.